We spend a lot of time thinking about death, and usually it's not in a good way. But what if we're looking at it all wrong? Today, we're going to explore a really unique perspective on life's ultimate transition, one that sees it not as a terrifying end, but as a natural process. And we'll be doing it through the scientific and spiritual philosophy of Master E.K. So, just to be clear, everything we're about to dive into comes straight from this one source, the book The Science of Death. Think of this as our guide. We're not saying this is the only way to see things, but we're exploring this specific and, I gotta say, pretty fascinating philosophy on the subject. Okay, so where does this whole philosophy even begin? Well, it starts by tackling a question that, let's be honest, probably keeps a lot of us up at night. While pretty much every creature has a survival instinct, why are humans the only ones who seem to be genuinely tormented by the fear of our own end? And the answer, according to this way of thinking, is actually found in the nature of fear itself. It turns out that our greatest tool, our intellect, might also be our greatest burden when it comes to this stuff. This is where we get to a really key distinction. For an animal, right, fear is pretty simple. It's a tool. It's for survival, right here, right now. But for us humans, we take that same basic instinct and our intellect just grabs onto it, blows it up, and shoots it way into the future. And that projection, that's what turns a simple survival instinct into this constant nagging anxiety about something that hasn't even happened yet. And the result of all that? Our logic, our very way of thinking, becomes what the book calls death conditioned. And if you think about it, it makes so much sense, doesn't it? So many of our plans, our goals, they're all framed by this idea of getting it all done before I die. Our own mortality becomes this silent, super stressful deadline for everything. So if the problem is how we perceive death, then the solution has to be about changing that perception, right? This is where the philosophy starts to build a totally new framework. It reframes death not as some big catastrophe, but as a simple, natural process, a change. So let's start with the basics. At its most clinical, the book defines death like this. It's just a biochemical change. The building blocks of the biological kingdom, our cells, they just decompose back into the building blocks of the mineral kingdom, atoms. It's framed as a transfer, not a termination. See the difference? But then we get a much warmer and honestly, a much more comforting analogy that completely shifts the perspective. What if death is just like sleep? According to this quote, it's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is when we wake up from sleep, it's in the same body. When we wake up from death, well, it's in a different one. And this idea gets reinforced with even more beautiful, gentle comparisons. Think about a ripe fruit just